Hi guys, Abhishek Thakkar here. I'm a writer, author, and a poet, and I'm a student and teacher of English literature. I completed my masters from School of Languages, Gujarat University, and I'm also a PhD aspirant. Today, I would like to talk about Homi Bhabha as a post-colonial theorist. Homi Bhabha was born in the year 1949 and he was born in the city Mumbai. His alma mater was University of Mumbai and Christ Church College. He is also considered the Anne F. Rothenberg Professor of American and English Literature. He was the director of Humanities Center at Harvard University. Homi Bhabha developed a wide range of concepts, a variety of concepts, a diverse range of concepts, or you can say a multitude of ideas that remarkably shaped, molded, and influenced the way we think about history, politics, and culture. He challenged our thoughts about how the culture is constructed, how the narrative is told, and he questioned the exposition of cultural narrative. This is very important, friends. He remarkably influenced the way we think, and he caused a shift by questioning various premises and various foundations of culture. He developed many concepts which are as follows. Number one is hybridity. Hybridity is borrowed from Edward Said's work, emergence of new cultural forms from multiculturalism. Okay, so Homi Bhabha strongly asserted that colonialism is not something that is logged in the past. Okay, it shows how its histories and cultures constantly intrude on the present. So colonialism is not something that is stuck in the past, or not something that is dead, okay, or something that transpired a long time before, but the history of colonialism and how it influences, how it meddles our understanding of the present, how it interferes, and how it tries to mold our opinion of what is transpiring in the present moment. So, Homi Bhabha actually applied post-structural methodologies to colonial texts, meaning that he went beyond the structures, he transcended structures, and he questioned the structures. Okay, orthodoxy often prevents us from questioning structures, but questioning is our birthright, and we should assert it. We should apply questioning. That is what Homi Bhabha has taught us. Number second concept is ambivalence. Okay, so ambivalence, basically in ambivalence, cultures consisting of opposite perceptions and dimensions are there, and there is a duality, and this duality presents a split in the identity of the colonized other or the colonized subaltern. Okay, or the you can say the person who is suppressed or oppressed. Okay, so colonial presence remains split between its appearance and its articulation. Its appearance as original and authoritative, and its articulation as repetition and difference. I'll repeat that for you. Colonial presence remains split between its appearance as original and authoritative and its articulation as repetition and difference. Okay, so there is often a split, a rupture, you can say a splintering in the identity of the colonized other. There is a break, there is a sort of a shattering, or you can say a fragmented identity of the colonized other. The next concept that Homi Bhabha has talked about is cultural difference. Okay, so cultural difference is an alternative to cultural diversity. Okay, and a culture is an object of empirical knowledge it pre-exists the knower. So even before the knower existed, even before the knower came into being, okay, even before the knower took birth, culture was already there. Culture is something of the past. It has already been there for thousands and thousands of years. It has been there. And cultural difference is a point at which two or more cultures meet. Okay, so this is very important, and this this is a very important aspect of post-colonial discourse. Please remember this, friends. Okay, so there are two important points in this concept, that cultural difference is an alternative or a substitute to cultural diversity. Okay, and in cultural diversity, when we talk about cultural diversity or cultural variety, a culture is an object of empirical knowledge and it pre-exists the knower. Okay, so before the knower was there, before he came into being, before he came into existence, culture has already been there. Okay, so it's like culture is like your grandma. Okay, even before you were there, your grandma was there, right? Even before you were there, your grandfather was there. So it is like that. An important aspect is its dependence on the concept of fixity. Okay, on the concept of construction of otherness. Okay, so this concept depends on the concept of fixity and in the construction of otherness. We have to understand that colonial discourse has always distinguished between themselves, the colonizers or the imperialists, and the other. Okay, the identity has been constructed in such a way that that there is that demarcation line between the other, the suppressed, the oppressed, and the colonizers who showed themselves as superior, civilized, and who treated us like we were savages. Okay, like we were uncivilized and barbaric, and a word is often used for India as the land of snake charmers. Okay, so that is how the identity of India was constructed. But originally, we know that Britishers were always fearful of the rich spiritual heritage of India, which could act as a unifying force for all the Indians from different castes, different races, different religions. Okay, so the next concept that I would like to talk about is mimicry. Okay, so mimicry is a metonym of presence. So it is that word that is used for presence. So we have seen that in order to get the approval, of parents, sometimes children behave like parents. Okay, and they try to imitate. We have seen that very young kids try to imitate, and similarly, colonial people imitated the cultures of the colonizers. Okay, so colonizers treated the colonized or the other in a very harsh way, in a way that was rather very blunt, not just blunt, I would say inhuman way. Okay, that was totally not appropriate or befitting in any way. So what colonial people tried to do, the people who were colonized, they tried to imitate the culture of the West. For example, Indians tried to dress up like Britishers. Okay, because the Indian dhoti and all those traditional sorts of dressing was considered very uncivilized by the Britishers. So we tried to imitate the culture of the West. A wide number of people also converted to Christianity so that they can get approval of the Westerners. Okay, and also missionaries also came and tried to convert people to Christianity. And we know how Britishers treated Hindu customs and Hindu rituals and Hindu religions. They never understood the plurality, and they never understood the religious pluralism and the wide range of philosophies, the richness of Vedanta. They never understood that, and they always thought that this idol worship and all it all lacks scientific depth, and they always considered themselves superior to us. So mimicry is basically imitation. When colonial people imitate the culture of the colonizers, that is called mimicry. It is a sign of double articulation. It is a sign of the inappropriate. This is very important, friends. So mimicry is the sign of double vision. Mimicry is the sign of double articulation. It is the sign of the inappropriate. Okay, so mimicry discloses the ambivalence of colonial discourse and disrupts its authority. Okay, when people imitate somebody, it means they are trying to win the approval of that person somewhere that is hidden in their psyche, that is obscured in their subconscious mind. Okay, and this is what exactly happened. Indians were trying to somewhere win the approval of Britishers, and Britishers and the colonizers were rather, considered very superior because they dressed very differently, and because especially of their various traits which were quite different from that of Indians. Next concept, that is fifth concept, is third space. Okay, friends, this is a very interesting concept and a very fascinating idea. Third space is an ambiguous area that develops when two or more individuals interact with each other. Okay, so third space challenges our sense of historical identity of culture. Culture which acts as a homogenizing and a unifying force, okay, which is authenticated by the original past, that is kept alive in the national traditions of the people. Okay, so culture basically acts as a homogenizing force, as a unifying force, as a cohesive force. Okay, and third space challenges the sense of identity. For example, when two people talk about history, okay, they see history differently, and the exchange of views develops a blank space, a third area, a very unclear area where that interaction shows differences in opinion about history, about the same historical events. Okay, so what this concept tries to tell is that claims to original past or innate originality of past is quite invalid. Okay, because see, the orthodoxists, they have tried to perpetuate this idea that history is fixed. Okay, earlier we know that only biblical view of science prevailed. So the science was a part of theology. It wasn't a part. It wasn't a part or something different from theology. Only the biblical worldview was considered to be the correct worldview, which could explain the origins of humans, or the origin of the world, or the origin of the cosmos, or the evolution of the cosmos could only be explained by biblical worldview. But then later on, science became different from theology. Okay, and naturalist worldview developed. Okay, Charles Darwin challenged the theory of Bible through his own theory of the evolution through natural selection. Okay, when nature selects, not a supernatural agent like God. Okay, so culture actually has no fixity. Okay, culture can be retold and read in a new manner, rehistoricized. Okay, it can be read in a different way, in a different perspective. It can be understood in a different way. For example, if we try to read Mahabharata, okay, from Arjun's perspective, that might be different. And if we try to reread the Mahabharata from the perspective of Draupadi, it will be quite different. Okay, if we try to understand the Battle of 1857, okay, the first war of independence, Britishers referred to it merely as a sepoy mutiny, okay, where only soldiers, fought against them. But that was not the truth. Okay, people from different castes, from different religions, fought together. Even Bahadur Shah Zafar was there, and we know that Tatya Tope was there, Rani Lakshmi Bai was there, and even the common people tried to participate in whatever way they could. Okay, so people from many different areas participated, but British had to control the narrative so that such a rebellion of such magnitude could not happen again. Okay, so when read from the point of view of Britishers, history is quite different. Okay, the narrative is quite different. But when it is being told from the point of view of the colonized, it is quite different. Okay, so we know that there were 13 little colonies. Okay, but when they achieved independence, they became United States of America. So how how the colonizers would tell American history is quite different from the way Americans would tell their history. Okay, this is very important to understand. It is central towards understanding the fundamentals of the concept that we are talking about right now, that we have been studying right now. Now we come to the important work, Location of Culture. Okay, Homi Bhabha problematizes cultural identity in his work. Okay, it is the continuation of Edward Said's Orientalism. Okay, the first wave of post-colonial criticism was ushered in by Edward Said's writing. Okay, it gave way to formerly subdued nationalist traditions, and it questioned Edward Said's Orientalism's historicism. Okay, so basically what is happening here is that a post-colonial wave was ushered in by Edward Said. Okay, and it challenged the imperialists' view of narration of historical events. Okay, whatever we are studying right now is not the Indian system of education or the Vedic system of education. Okay, it is the British system of education, and this kind of construction of structures that was done by Britishers, it has been challenged by Edward Said and further questioned by Homi Bhabha, who questioned Edward Said's Orientalism's historicism. Okay, Bhabha challenged the cohesiveness of culture, the unification of culture, the unity of culture by developing the ideas of Derrida, Foucault, Lyotard, and Barthes. Okay, so he deconstructed the structures. Bhabha, by questioning the structures, he deconstructed the structures and created space for the creation of new structures. Okay, for the creation of new buildings of understanding. Okay, and he said that this cohesiveness is rather a delusion, or you can say it is very transitory or illusory. Okay, and it is best expressed through fixed historical factors, that is race, gender, religion, education. So these are the range of factors: race, gender, religion, and education. Okay, so colonial history can be broken down into binary opposition. Okay, binary opposition is light and darkness. Okay, and for example, nature and culture. Okay, Western and native. Okay, so these are binary oppositions. They are constructed oppositions, and they are the lens through which we try to understand or make sense of various things. They are you can say the colored lens through which we don't get the clear picture, but we still try to make some sense out of the factors and out of the events that are happening. Okay, so colonial history can be broken down into binary oppositions such as nature and culture, Western and native. Okay, Bhabha challenged this view of colonial history. His focus was on the concept of boundary, and we normally understand boundary as something that ends. But Homi Bhabha said that boundary is something that begins its presencing and creates space for hybridity. Okay, it is not something that stops. It is not something that stops. It is something that begins its presencing. Okay, so we understand boundary in a different way as something that limits. Okay, something that confines, something that restricts. But Bhabha does not understand it the same way. He challenges our sense of understanding. He applies post-structural methodology to our view of boundary, of our concept of boundary. Okay, we never think about it this way, that boundary is something that begins its presencing. Okay, we are challenged and we are rather illuminated by this post-structural questioning and by this view of Bhabha that boundary is something that begins its presencing. Okay, so that is a very fascinating and very intriguing insight by Homi Bhabha. He also praises Fanon for his dehistoricized colonial psyche. Okay, so when we try to understand Homi Bhabha, we have to remember all these concepts such as hybridity, cultural diversity. Okay, then we have to remember all these concepts such as cultural difference, then mimicry, and third space. So all these concepts are very important when we try to understand Bhabha. Bhabha challenged the cohesiveness, the unity the unification of cultures, and he said that history can be read in a new manner, it can be reread in a new manner, can be rehistoricized, retold, and there is nothing called original past, and the claims to innate originality of the past is invalid. Okay, and he also talks beautifully about cultural diversity and cultural difference, and he also talks beautifully about third space and mimicry and so many other things, and he challenges our sense of perception, how we perceive history, how we perceive politics, how we understand culture. Okay, so that is why he is a rebel, a revolutionary who transforms and molds our understanding and shapes our understanding, and he helps us question the existence of cultures, and he challenges the sense of fixity. Okay, he says that there is no such thing as fixity, it is dependent on the construction of otherness. Okay, so colonial presence is not something that is locked in the past, it constantly intrudes with the present moment. Okay, so we think that colonial history is something that is that's happened in the past, it is written in the history textbooks, and we talk about history, we talk about 1857 rebellion, we talk about how so many martyrs died, and so many people sacrificed their lives for the sake of liberating our countries, for the sake of emancipating our country from the cruel Britishers during that time. But that is the beauty about it, that the post-colonial wave says that colonial past is also interfering with the present. It is something that is meddling with the present understanding and the present moment. Okay, and it also questions the colonial narrative, the colonial history, the colonial perspective, and brings the subaltern's perspective, the oppressed perspective, and the suppressed voice. It creates the space for suppressed voice to say their narrative. Okay, so this is the beauty of Homi Bhabha's work, Location of Culture, and he tries to challenge our minds, and he tries to reshape our minds, and he tries to tell us that map, what we perceive of as a map of understanding, is not the final map. Okay, there are so many things beyond what we can think. For example, humans have 60,000 thoughts a day, but so many of the thoughts that we have during the day are useless or are repetitive in nature. Okay, so we think that we can only do these things, we are limited, we are confined, but that is a very wrongful notion that we have implanted in our heads, and so we should challenge our minds by reading these post-colonial theorists, and that will help us radiate our own intelligence, our own philosophical insights to other people. So I thank you all for listening to my lecture on Homi Bhabha as a post-colonial theorist. If you liked my lecture on Homi Bhabha as a post-colonial theorist, please do like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And I'll bring many more such lectures on literary critics, and I'll try to simplify them, but not make them too simple, so that they can be as interesting as they are, and they can be understood as well. Thank you.